Hi everyone, this is Anindita from Your First Nature. In today's Greening My Life episode, I'm going to talk about the factors that you need to consider before starting your houseplant journey or to mature from a beginner to an expert houseplant parent. So keep watching. Before we proceed, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button. In that way, you will never miss out on any of our gardening related videos, and you will always be up to date with all the gardening related content that we share every week. In today's life, there are so many reasons to bring some plants home. Some people just want to bring some splash of color in their decor. Some people want to get some plants as air purifiers, and some people just love nature. Whatever be the reason, this is one of the best decisions you have taken for yourself, and you will be rewarded for that every single day of your life from now on. But however rewarding your gardening journey is going to become, the first step towards it can be pretty scary. I know this because I have always loved nature. But a few years back, I didn't have any houseplants in my home, and I would pass by some balconies or some homes where there are a lot of plants. I would always wish that if that house could be my own. But I was always scared that if I bring some plants home, I'm going to kill them. But I didn't. Now I have more than 500 plants. You can always bring some plants home and just go with the flow and learn from your mistakes. But the problem is, if you do that, in case it does not go well and the plant dies, you will be disappointed, and there is a chance that you will probably give up on houseplants. Well, to tell you the truth, I have never met a gardener who has never killed a plant. If you have ever met someone like that, either that person has never taken care of a plant or that person is lying. Learning through experience and learning through your mistakes is one of the best things you can do to become an experienced gardener. With that being said, there are factors that you need to understand beforehand so that you have the best chance of being successful as a plant parent. The first thing that you need to understand is the lighting in your house. Lighting is the most important thing for your plants. You need to understand the amount of light, the duration of light, the time of the day when your home or your balcony gets that light, and also the intensity of light. The amount of light may vary depending on so many different factors. For example, the side your house or the garden area is facing. East side always gets very soft morning light. However, in the afternoon, it gets only indirect light, no direct light at all. West-facing houses get a lot of light in the second part of the day, but then it can be a little too intense, and that may not be appropriate for all the plants. It also depends on how big your windows are, or if there are any other obstructions like a tree or some other building in front of your balcony or your house which is obstructing the light. Even the time of the year changes the amount of light that you get. If these subjective measures are too confusing for you, there are some ways to measure light to understand exactly how much light your garden area gets and what are the plants that are suitable for that much of light. If you want me to cover that in a separate episode, please let me know in the comment section down below. In fact, my perception of light has changed drastically ever since I have started my houseplant journey. I was staying in an apartment back then. My west-facing apartment, I used to think that it gets a lot of light, but that wasn't enough for all types of plants. But whatever be your light situation, you will always have some plants suited for your particular light situation. Also, there are other measures which you can take in order to increase the light in your garden area. What is more important is to understand these constraints and bring the right plant home. A few thumb rules. First is, any plant that has a lot of color in its foliage generally needs a little bit more light in order to maintain that color in their foliage. For example, this is a croton gold dust. Crotons are very common houseplants that you will find in any plant shop, but they are very beautiful, colorful and vibrant. But since they have so much color in their foliage, they need a very bright indirect light or even some direct light during the day in order to maintain their color of the foliage. Otherwise, they will just revert back to green. The reason why the colorful plants lose their color when kept in low light is because When they are kept in low light, they generally try to produce more chlorophyll. That is the green pigments that you have on your foliage. And if they are producing more chlorophyll, then this color will turn to green. And they produce more chlorophyll because they want to absorb whatever amount of light is available in that low light area. Thumb rule number 2, any flowering or fruiting plants in general need a lot of more light. Many fruits or vegetables or flowering plants need direct light throughout the day in order to be able to produce their fruits or flowers. But that does not mean if you have only indirect light, or if you have a west facing balcony or an east facing balcony, you cannot grow any flowers or any vegetables. You can, but your choices will be much more limited. The third rule of thumb is that the cacti or succulents, they generally need a lot of light, even direct light at sometimes, because they originate from the desert-like areas where they get direct sunlight, scorching sunlight almost throughout the day. So unless they get very bright indirect or some direct light, they will not be able to survive, and definitely they will not look so cute as they look generally in the plant shops. One thing I would like to mention here is that there is no such thing as low light plants. All plants grow better in brighter light. But there are some plants which are tolerant of lower light situations for a limited period of time. And typically, the plants that originate from rainforest, the understory of rainforest, those are the plants that can survive in lower light situation for some period of time. Because even in the natural habitat, they get only dappled sunlight, where the direct sunlight is being blocked by the tall canopy over their head. So the understory plants get only dappled or filtered sunlight. So even in your home, if you don't have direct sunlight, these plants will survive better than the other plants. So here I have a few plants which are more tolerant of lower light situations than any other plant I have ever grown. For instance, golden pothos. This is a plant which is very tolerant of low light. There are different types of pothos available in the market, and they're extremely easy to care for, and they can survive in lower light situation for a much longer time, although the stems will be much more longer and they may lose this color. This is also very similar to pothos. This is called satin pothos or scindapsus. These are also plants that can survive very well in low light situation, but the size of the leaves will be much smaller, and you may not have these striking patterns on the leaves if you keep it in low light for an extended period of time. Philodendrons are also extremely tolerant of low light situations. This is Philodendron micans, and this is called Philodendron atom. In the wild, I think there are more than 400 different philodendrons that you can find. In the market also, there are many different types of philodendrons. You will find at least 5 to 10 different philodendrons in every plant shop. So they can offer you all the types of colors or textures or patterns or whatever you want for your decor or your garden area. Aglaonimas are another type of plants which come in various colors. They have red, yellow, pink or green and many other silver color on their foliage, and they're strikingly beautiful, but they're very tolerant of low light situations. These foliage actually turn to a lot more greener when they're kept in low light situations. This is a syngonium. Again, this also offers you a lot of different colors or patterns. And they're tolerant of low light situations, and they can grow very big, although the size of the leaves will be much smaller. If you are looking for some tall plants for your low light area which will give a little bit of structure to your decor, dracaenas are excellent choices because they have strikingly beautiful foliage in different patterns and shapes, and a lot of colors also, and they can survive in low light for a few months. This is another type of plant which is very good in low light situations. This is called snake plant. This is a snake plant bonsal, and I think I have another one right here. I think this is called snake plant. I don't remember the exact name. So these are also very much tolerant of low light situations. They can survive longer in low light than most other plants, but in low light situations you have to be very careful with their watering, because You see the fleshy leaves? They have a lot of water stored in these fleshy leaves. Their roots are also fleshy. So if you overwater them, they will probably die. So in low light situations, you may have to water these once in a month or once in 2 months, like that. Snake plants offer a lot of different types of shapes. These are fleshy, there are upright, sword-like structures also. They're really beautiful. This is another plant which is tolerant of low light. Probably the most tolerant I have ever seen. This is called ZZ plant, Zamioculcas zamiifolia. This also gives you different types of choices in green or in black, and there are other colors also. The structure shape is kind of similar for the plants, but they are very beautiful and they have fleshy stems which store a lot of water. For a long time they can survive in low light, but again, like snake plants, you have to be very careful with the watering because they have very fleshy thick leaves, and they have big bulbs in their roots that store a lot of water. So if you overwater them, you will kill them. So in low light situation, they may need water once in every month or every 2 months also. Only when the soil is bone dry. Don't go by a schedule. Understand what your plant needs and accordingly water your plants. So this one, water it only when it is bone dry. The next thing that you have to consider is watering. Many newbie gardeners think that the only way to take care of your plants is through watering them. But more plants die of overwatering than underwatering. So if you are a little heavy-handed in terms of watering, then I would suggest that you choose plants that won't mind a little bit more water, like Phytonias. So I have one right here. It's a pink and green color foliage. They have many different colors. They have red, green, white, yellow, and I think many other colors. And they're strikingly beautiful. This is a very small one, but you can buy big full pot of Phytonias from the market in hanging baskets, and they look really good. But they like a little bit more water. They actually don't like to dry out completely. In fact, in the same lighting situation, if my snake plant needs water every, say, 10 days or 15 days, Phytonia will probably need it every 3 days or so. On the other hand, if you are a lazy gardener or forgetful, or if you travel a lot, then plants like snake plant or cacti or succulent, which have really fleshy leaves and thorns on the foliage, they are very good options for you because they need very little amount of water. So if you want me to do a separate video on watering, please let me know. There are watering hacks and tricks that experienced gardeners follow, which actually make the job much more easier. So please let me know if you want me to do a separate episode on that. The next thing that you have to consider is humidity. Most of the plants that we bring home are from rainforests, so they are habituated to probably 50, 60 or even 80% humidity, which may not be possible for all of us to maintain. While many of these plants love 80% humidity, but plants like pothos or philodendrons, they can survive in 40% humidity also. May not be that happy, but they will survive. But there are plants which cannot survive in lower humidity. For example, all pear plants, Calatheas, Marantas and Stromanthis, they cannot survive in low light situation, and they have really beautiful foliage. So much that as a beginner, if you go to a nursery and see all these plants, you will be tempted to buy them. But if your place does not have that much of humidity, you may not be able to keep them alive. There are ways to increase humidity around your plants, but that needs a little bit more effort or time, or sometimes it can be expensive as well. The next is temperature. Most houseplants are warmer region plants. So people staying in colder regions should be very careful about what plants they are putting in the ground outside. If the plant cannot tolerate cold, then the only option is to keep them in pots so that in winter season you can bring them inside, or the other option is starting new again next year. But there are some plants which are more tolerant of colder climate than others, and it will be very helpful to have that information. The next is time that you can spend with your plants. There are some plants which need a lot of special care, TLC, in order to look their best. But if you are a busy person who cannot spend that much time with your plants, I would strongly suggest that you stick to only the low maintenance, easy to care plants to begin with. The next is space. I would really love a 6 foot tall fiddle leaf fig or a 5 foot wide Monstera deliciosa. But I don't have that much of space. But all these plants, they have a smaller version of themselves, which you can bring for your smaller spaces. For example, this is my Monstera deliciosa. This is the smaller one, and this is not more than 2 feet tall. And this perfectly fits my space because I don't have a space for a 5 feet wide Monstera deliciosa. There are some plants which are structurally small. They will never grow too tall. Like some cacti, some succulents, peperomias, all these plants do not grow too tall. So they are perfectly suited for your small space apartments. All these are very important tips, but above all, you should bring those plants which you can connect with. Plants are living beings that demand your time and your attention. They will be sad when you ignore them, and they will be happy when you take care of them, and they will reward you with new leaves, new flowers, and new beauty every day. So choose plants that you can connect with, and it will be a rewarding journey. So that's all I have today. If there is any topic that you want me to make a separate episode in detail, then please let me know in the comment section. Also, do not forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button so that you never miss any of our gardening content. We post gardening and nature related topic every single week, and we love to have you back and get your feedback. So please like and share our videos. I will see you again next week with another Food in My Backyard episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.